Good morning, one and all. Before we proceed with our today's topic, can anyone tell me which organ controls the function of our body?
Brain.
Brain.
Brain. Correct. And besides controlling, what is the other work it does? Any idea which term we will be learning today? Okay. So, today we will be learning about control and coordination in animals and in plants. So, do you think plants also requires control and coordination?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see how it occurs in plants as well as in animals. Ya Allah. So, our topic for today is life. The lesson name is Life Process in Living Organisms. In this, we will be learning about control and coordination. So, while carrying out any work, coordination is a must, right? Similarly, proper coordination between organ and system is very necessary. If at all the coordination lacks, the activity might not get completed. So, a proper coordination, this results in better functioning like maintaining the temperature, then giving response to stimuli and so on. So how we can define coordination? The regulation of different process that can be controlled and that brings about different processes in a proper sequence, it is called as coordination. So proper coordination between various systems, they help us to maintain a state of equilibrium. There is no randomness and it is called as homeostasis. So this is very necessary for the optimal efficiency of the body. So today we will be learning coordination in plants and coordination in humans. So firstly, coordination in plants. As plants, the structure, it is not that complex as compared to that of humans and animals. So in plants, the movement, it is carried out in response to stimuli. So the plants, they do not have nervous or muscular systems like animal. So they give response to stimuli. So now if you look at these images, one minute. Firstly, we'll be learning two types, that is growth relevant movement and growth irrelevant movement. So first let's see what is growth relevant movement. So movement of any part of the plant in response to external stimulus, such movement is called as tropism or tropic movement. Now if you see the first image, what can you observe?
Plant
Plant
is
is
moving
moving
towards the
towards the
light.
light.
Correct. So here the plant, it is moving towards the light or it's bending towards the light. So such movement, when shoot of plant, it gives response to light, then such movement is called as phototropic movement or phototropism. Then if we see this second one, when root of plant, it gives response to stimulus of gravitation, then it is called as gravitropic or gravitropism. Whereas if it gives response to water, it will be called as hydrotropic or hydrotropism. Similarly, if you see this image, last one, here the pollen grain, it is growing towards the ovule. So this is an example of chemotropic movement. That is, here the stimuli is the chemical. So there are four types. Phototropic, that is movement towards light. Gravitropic, response to stimulus of gravity. Hydrotropic, that is response to stimulus of water. And chemotropic, that is responds to stimulus of chemical. So as you all must have observed that all these movements were related to growth. So such movements which are related to growth, the movements are called as growth relevant movement. So can anyone try to explain or define growth irrelevant movement? So growth irrelevant movement is the movement that do not leads to the growth, and hence the name irrelevant. So here if you see this images, the first one is touch me not or mimosa plant. So we know that as soon as we touch the leaf, it just closes. So they show electrochemical impulses. Whereas if you see this Venus flytrap, the second image, so it's a plant that eats insect. It is attractive, so the insects get attracted towards it, and these plants, they trap the insects and then digest it. The third one is lotus. The lotus flower, it opens during daytime. Have you all heard about Ratrani plant or the jasmine that blooms at night?
Yes.
Yeah. So these flowers, they bloom during night time. And the last one is balsam. So as soon as the fruits ripe, they burst, and so that these seeds, they can disperse. So in all these examples, no growth had occurred. So the plants, they use electrochemical impulses for transfer of information from one place to another, and it is not related to growth, and hence known as growth irrelevant movement. So this was about coordination in plants. Now let's learn about human beings. So in human beings, coordination occurs through two systems. One is nervous control and the other one is chemical control. So today we are just going to learn about nervous control. So how is it possible that a body performs various functions and receives various instructions for the brain? So the main structural and functional unit of the nervous system is neuron, or we can say nerve cell. So they play an important role in empowering the body cells so that they can respond to the impulses. And a special type of cell called neuron or nerve cell is present in multicellular animals. As in unicellular animals like amoeba, the nervous system is not present. So this is the neuron. This is the structure of neuron. So whenever we respond to any stimuli, it is because of these nerve cell which passes the message to the brain. So let's first see the structure of neuron. So it consists of two terminal. One is this dendrite and the other one is the axon terminal. So just remember that the information is first collected by the dendrite, by this dendrite, and from here the chemical process begins. So neurons, they are the structural and functional unit, and information is collected by dendrites, and here the chemical process begins. So now we will be learning about the mechanism of transmission, how this exactly occurs. So firstly, we know that it consists of two parts, that is dendrite and axon, and the information is collected at the dendrite, and from here, from this dendrite, it will pass to the cell body, and from the cell body the impulse will be passed towards the axon terminal. So clear up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So transmission of impulse through synapses. So we'll see what is synapse. So if we see this diagram, so the impulse is first received by the dendrite, then it is transferred towards the cell body, and now the impulse has come towards axon. Now this axon will play a major role as it will stimulate to release some chemicals. So what are these chemicals? These chemicals, if you see here, it's written neurotransmitter. So what this neurotransmitter is, basically this consists of two membranes. The first one is the presynaptic membrane and the other one is the postsynaptic membrane. So usually till the time the impulse is not received, the neurons, they are polarized, and as soon as we receive the first stimuli, these neurons, they depolarize and they passes the impulse through the bulb. If you see the structure, this is known as the bulb. So this bulb, it consists of large amount of mitochondria and transmitter vesicles. So mitochondria, as it provides energy, and transmitter vehicles, because this vehicles, it consists lots of neurotransmitter. They hold the neurotransmitter and they release this neurotransmitter. So when the first change occur, the neurotransmitter vesicles, they attach to this lower membrane, that is this presynaptic membrane. It attaches over here. So if you see here, we have this voltage gate calcium canal. So from here the calcium ions enter and this creates calcium influx. So as soon as the calcium influx is triggered, they bind to the presynaptic membrane and this leads to the opening of this lower membrane. And from here the neurotransmitter, it just bursts away. And then it gets transferred towards the dendrite of next neuron, that is towards the postsynaptic membrane. So the distance between these two neurons, the region of communication between these two neurons is known as synapse, or we can say synaptic cleft. So as soon as the neurotransmitter, it gets transferred towards the postsynaptic membrane, there we have presence of various proteins such as ionophore and G protein. The ionophore, it is a receptor which is observed during quick responses. For example, blinking of eye and reflex action. Whereas G protein, it is observed during delay responses. So here what you need to remember is the first impulse, it is received by dendrite, then it is passed on to the cell body, from there towards the axon. This axon, it leads to the release of chemicals which is known as neurotransmitter. It is released at synapses and further reflex action occurs. So this point you have to remember. Now let's learn about the human nervous system. So the human nervous system is divided into three parts, that is CNS, PNS and ANS, that is central nervous system, autonomic nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So the central nervous system comprises of brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, the nerves which arises from the CNS, and the autonomic nervous system consists of nerves of involuntary organs. So firstly we'll see CNS. As we said, it comprises of brain and spinal cord. So let's learn about brain. So human brain is about 1300 to 1400 grams in weight, and it develops to full size at age of 6 years, and it contains around 30 million neurons. So it is located in cranial cavity. We can also call it as cranium of the cell, and this is bony in nature. So the space between this bony covering and the CNS, it is called as meninges. So this space is called as meninges. So it forms a protective covering for brain as well as for the spinal cord. And then we have cavities present in brain, which is called as ventricle, and the long tubular cavity in the spinal cord, it is called as central canal. And between these we have presence of fluid, which is called as cerebrospinal fluid. So this basically acts as a shock absorber, and it is present about 120 ml in adults. So this was about the brain. Now let's see the parts of the brain. That is the cerebrum, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. So cerebrum, this is the largest part of the brain, and it occupies almost of 2/3 part. That is, it makes of 80 to 85% of weight, and it is divided into two hemispheres. So the surface of the cerebral hemisphere is called as cerebral cortex, basically grey matter, as it appears grey in color. So the deep ridges and grooves in this grey matter, they are convolution, and it has relationship with intelligence. It is said that the larger the more amount of grooves and ridges, the more is the intelligence. So this was about cerebrum. Then next is cerebellum. It is the second largest region, and it weighs 11%, and it has outer grey matter and inner white matter. It is situated below cerebrum and posterior, that is back of the cranial cavity. It has grooves, and it is the center for controlling equilibrium and maintaining balance, that is maintaining posture, and it is the regulatory center for neurotransmitter, because this cerebellum is responsible for carrying activities like walking and running and balancing our body. So usually when people, if you have seen drunk people who consume a lot of alcohol, they are unable to walk. It is because the neurotransmitter is unable to send this signal, and the cerebellum is not able to function at that time, and hence these people are not able to balance their body. So this was about cerebellum. Then medulla oblongata. So it is the hindmost part of the brain, and it has presence of two triangular pyramid, and it carries out involuntary functions like heartbeat, respiration, breathing, and also vital activities like swallowing, yawning, hiccups, etc. So this was about the part of the brain. So now the functions. As we said, cerebrum, it controls voluntary movement and intelligence. Then cerebellum, again coordination of voluntary movement and maintains the body balance, important one. Medulla oblongata controls involuntary activities like beating of the heart, blood circulation, sneezing, coughing, salivation, etc. And spinal cord, it carries out all impulses, that is from the skin towards the brain, then from the brain to the muscles, and also for reflex action. So this was about CNS, that is central nervous system. Now we will see PNS, that is peripheral nervous system. So it consists of nerves which arises from central nervous system. So there are two types of nerves. One is cranial nerves and one is spinal nerves. Cranial, that is cranial cavity. So the origination will be obviously the brain, and the spinal nerve, spinal, which means the origin will be spine, that is spinal cord. And PNS is associated with part of head, thorax and abdomen, whereas the spinal nerve, it is associated with arms, legs, skins and other parts. So cranial nerves, they are 12 in pairs, and spinal nerves, they are 31 in pair. Lastly, ANS, that is autonomic nervous system. So it consists of nerves of involuntary organs like heart, stomach, etc. Lastly, if you see this, what's happening over here in this GIF? Anyone?
The spinal cord. From the spinal cord, the message goes to the arm that we have to remove it from the fire.
Correct. So this action is known as reflex action. So whenever we perform any action that is involuntary and against our will, for example, when we get hit by something or when we touch something which is hot, so immediately we react. Even though we don't even think that we have to react at that time, we just pull away our hands or we just move back. So such movements are called as reflex action. So we have already learnt about the mechanism, that is how the message is passed towards the brain. So the same is applicable over here. So here we have completed with our today's topic, that is control and coordination of plants and humans. So any doubts till here?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, fine. So in plants we have learned two types, growth relevant and growth irrelevant. In growth relevant we saw phototropic, that is response to light, gravitropic, response to gravity, hydrotropic, response to water, and chemotropic, stimuli is chemical. Then in growth irrelevant, the growth is not related to growth. The movement is not related to growth. Lastly, the human nervous system, three parts, CNS, PNS and ANS. In CNS, we learnt about the structure of brain, cerebrum, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. We also saw its function and spinal cord. Then in PNS, we learnt about two nerves, cranial and spinal nerves. Lastly, ANS, we learnt about nerves of involuntary organ and reflex action. So, the first question is, an injury to the medulla oblongata can lead to death. Why?
The function of medulla oblongata is to control breathing. That's why injury happens to medulla. It can lead to death.
Correct. Now, complete the paragraph. So here we have one situation and I have given you all these options so that you can use this and fill up the blank. So the situation is, the milk was on the stove. Rasika was engrossed watching television. So she smelled something burning. She ran towards the kitchen and the milk was boiling over. She held the vessel with her bare hands and screaming, she let it go at once. So now, this activity is controlled by dash cells. Which cells?
Impulse.
No, the cells, the name of the cell, it is
Nerve
cells.
Yeah, it is controlled by nerve cell. So where the information gets collected first, the special ends of dash in these cells collects the information.
Dendrites.
Correct. And from dendrite, where it is transferred to the dash.
Cell body.
Correct. And from the cell body, it is transferred towards the terminal end of the
Axon.
Yeah. So now it has reached the axon. Now the chemical produced at the terminal end passes through the minute spaces, that is the junction.
Synapse.
Yeah, synapse. So this has led to the formation of what has conducted in this way. Dash were conducted in the body.
Impulse.
Yes, an impulse has been conducted in the body, and which process has taken place, which action has taken place?
Reflex action.
Yeah, correct. And so it has completed the impulse from dash to dash, from where it started,
Nerve cell.
and to now which cell it has transferred?
Muscle cell.
Yeah, correct. So the homework for you all is collect information about evolution of the brain of vertebrates and draw label diagram of human brain. So that's all for today. Thank you.